Hey guys, welcome back to the studio for another lesson. This week we're going to start talking about different improvisation strategies over some standard tunes and chord progressions. In today's lesson, we'll be digging into 3 different ways that you can improvise over the A section to a form that you absolutely need to know: rhythm changes. I'll show you guys 3 different etudes on the same 8 bars to illustrate some different routes that we can take through the harmony for the A section. The first one is going to be super inside the changes and using typical bebop phrasing and language. Next, we'll check out some substitution options in the form of a dominant cycle that we can play over the same 8 bars. Finally, we'll use some sidestepping pentatonic ideas over the first 4 bars to create some cool tensions before bringing things back inside for the second half. You guys ready? Let's get started. In this first etude, the goal is to stay strictly inside the harmony. That doesn't necessarily mean that there won't be any tension, though. Inside playing over rhythm changes typically involves the use of conventional bebop language like diminished chords over dominants, chromatic approaches, and closures, and other similar melodic devices. While you learn this one, see if you can extract some scale information from it and get an idea of where these ideas might be coming from. Here's that etude for you to check out now. If you've listened to any bebop rhythm changes, you've most likely heard some of this melodic vocabulary before. Most of it is really just coming from playing to what we can call the deep structure of the chord progression. Now that basically means what's the broadest interpretation of the harmony that we can perceive if we strip away all the fancier movements. We'll get into analyzing this more in a future video, but for now, let's check out a different strategy for improvising over this chord progression. Once you can improvise over this form, which can admittedly take quite a while to get comfortable with, you might find yourself searching for routes through the harmony that aren't quite as predictable. You'll probably start asking yourself, how can I play more outside? Well, one of the first ways we can get that outside sound is by superimposing chords over the typical harmony. My favorite way of doing this is to turn most of the A section into a dominant cycle that starts on F#7. That then cycles us all the way back towards the second half of the changes and creates some really unique tensions along the way. We don't even have to play any super complex lines since the superimposed progression that we're playing is interesting enough all on its own. Check out what I mean in this next etude. You see what I mean? It's a really great exercise in playing dominant cycles too. You can find a myriad of different ways to voice lead the same cycle and get even more interesting lines by targeting different chord tones to resolve to. I do think it's important to point out here that since the progression cycles all the way back, I want to resolve it in a way that brings everything back inside the harmony. We don't want to overwhelm the listener with all this crazy harmony all the time. Eventually, you've got to bring things back down to earth so that the line or the phrase can feel grounded. In this next etude, we're going to turn that concept up to 11 by going way outside the harmony for the first half. Another strategy we can use to play outside the harmony is to simply ignore it altogether and do what my old teacher called side-slipping. That's where we move chromatically around the harmony we want to resolve to using 2-beat melodic ideas. Most commonly, we'll do this with pentatonic sequences like ones we've covered here in the past. In this next etude, you're going to see a little bit of side-slipping for the first couple of bars, and then some pentatonic substitutions over the 3rd and 4th bar, which is going to help bring things back down to earth for the second half of the A section. Take a listen to what that sounds like now. Thanks so much for hanging around all the way to the end of today's video. Make sure you guys let me know down in the comments what you thought of the lesson. rhythm changes can be a really slippery form, and there's a lot more strategies that are available to us as improvisers than just the ones that we talked about today. Next week, we're going to take a look at some different things that we can play over the bridge in a similar way to how we did it today. As always, if you did find today's lesson helpful, make sure you give the video a like, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and hit that bell for notifications. If you want to get access to the PDF for today's lesson, along with the whole back catalog for all the videos on the channel, you can get that over at my Patreon page for as little as $10 a month, or by just hitting that join button right here on YouTube. Studio member and higher patrons also get access to bonus videos as well. A big thank you goes out to Ron Maestas and Louis Rosen for being studio fans. I really appreciate your guys' support. A huge thank you is due to these awesome studio members for their support as well. PH, David Zuckerbraun, Max Irwin, Everton Armstrong, Jay Jarek, Stephen Schwartz, Aaron Walters, Stephen Prager, Artie Sanchez, Guia Theobald, Pedro Santos, Zay Soares, Todd Stubnik, Michael LeBroy, and Patrick Caron. An extra special shout out to Jazz Luminaire patrons Bebop Bopti and Bill Jacob. Thank you guys all so much for being a part of the community. I'm David Shore, and thanks again for hanging out with me at the studio today. I'll see you guys next time.